As we head into the weekend, there is a path to where the University of Tennessee can win a regular season SEC championship. The odds are thin, but there is a path. I'll tell you how that can happen. What's the likelihood of Tennessee seeding heading into Tampa next week? A monster game against Arkansas. All that and more coming up here on a Friday. Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen, available anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. Hey, look, we got video again today. Restream decided to cooperate, so it's going to be a good day. Subscribe and support the show on YouTube, please. Over halfway to our goal of 1,000. Monster weekend coming up in so many different ways. We will know what seed Tennessee will be taking inside or into Tampa come the SEC tournaments. Tennessee plays Arkansas on Saturday. Monster rematch game with the Volunteers. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Tennessee just beat itself in that first matchup a couple weeks ago at Bud Walton Arena. So we'll dive into that matchup. We're going to get into a Heisman graphic that our good friends at betonline.net put out. And I quote tweeted it and retweeted it from both of my Twitter accounts. Heisman odds, the best Heisman odds heading into 2022. There's a name on there that is not and should be on there. We'll discuss that coming up in segment 2. And then some odds and ends in segment 3. We've got some combine notes. A couple of Tennessee Volunteers really showing out there in the early going. I had a comment from a guy on YouTube, and I want to get to that because it's a really, really good question. We'll do that in segment 3, and we'll get you set for a monster Shriners Collegiate Classic this weekend with Tennessee heading over to Houston. So that's what you have to look forward to here on the show. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Arkansas, Tennessee, the rematch. The first meeting, well, it wasn't that pretty. It was Tennessee falling at Bud Walton Arena 58-48. I mean, you like rock fights? I love using the word rock fights. Tennessee against Texas Tech. Tennessee against Texas most of that game. Tennessee against Arkansas. You have two of the top 15 defenses in all of the land going at it. And in that first matchup, Tennessee's defense played well. Hey, held Arkansas to 58 points. That's good. Held Arkansas to a 31% shooting clip. That is really good. Well, what's not so good is Arkansas did about the same thing for Tennessee, if not better. And it was better because they won the game, obviously. Held the Volunteers to 48 points. Held Tennessee to a 27% shooting clip from the field. A season low 5 assists for the Volunteers in that 58-48 loss a couple of weeks ago. But good news is Tennessee's coming home. Can Tennessee finish off the regular season with a perfect 16-0 record at Thompson-Boling Arena? I mean, there's no reason right now, as I knock on wood, there's no reason right now to pick against Tennessee playing at home. It's unfortunate you can play tournament games at home, right? But Tennessee does have an excellent opportunity to wrap up the home slate, wrap up the regular season with a win against Arkansas at TBA. That game's going to be at noon on Saturday. All right, so what you need to know about Arkansas. Arkansas has won 5 straight. So Arkansas held off LSU. J.D. Note that put in it had 2 game-winning free throws, game-tying free throw, then a game-winning free throw. He was fouled with about 9 seconds left in that Wednesday nightcap. Those were the game winners. Pinson of LSU had a chance with a missed layup there towards the end, but that was all she wrote. But 5 straight winners, 5 straight wins in a row for Arkansas, who is 24-6 on the season, 13-4, coming in ranked 14th in the AP poll. Of course, Tennessee's 13th in the AP poll, right ahead of them, 22-7, 13-4 in SEC play. Arkansas, 5 straight wins, have won 14 of their last 15 games. 14 of the last 15 games, 11-4 in quadrant 1 and 2 games. They have key wins at home against Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn, and then they've beaten LSU twice. So we'll have a win against LSU at home and away. 5-3 in true road games this season is Arkansas with that 17-1 record at home. Of course, that one loss coming to Vanderbilt in the early going whenever Arkansas began SEC play 0-3, and they've just been on a tear ever since. Losses so far this season, keep in mind, it's been a while, right? Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Those are the losses in SEC play, the key losses in SEC play. You've got senior guard JD Notae. Of course, we previewed this Arkansas matchup just a couple weeks ago here on Locked On Vols. He is what stirs the drink for Arkansas. 18.8 points per game. That is second highest in the SEC. 2.1 steals per game. That's second in the SEC. Really, really solid player in JD Notae, the senior backcourt player. He averages 16.2 field goals attempts a game. That is 13th in the nation. That leads the SEC. So an interesting stat there. If you want to stop Arkansas, you've got to stop JD Notae, or kind of like what you did with Auburn. Let him get his, stop everybody else. Who's everybody else? Well, Jalen Williams is a guy, and keep in mind, that first go around, he got a couple of charge calls picked up against Tennessee. He is the guy that does that, not just against Tennessee, he does that against everybody. Averages almost one charge call per game. Does Jalen Williams, the front court player, averages almost a double-double, 10.9 points per game, 9.7 rebounds per game. He's fourth in the SEC in rebounding. He's 28th in the nation. A really, really nice player in Jalen Williams. In conference games, Arkansas has three of the top 15 in the SEC in terms of scoring. JD Notae is second in the SEC with 19.7 points per game. You've got Stanky Amude is 12th, 13.9 points per game. And then Jalen Williams is 13th at 13.8 points per game. You've got two teams that are great defensively. I mentioned top 15 teams in the country in Ken Palm's defensive adjusted efficiency rating. Tennessee is third in the country. Arkansas is 12th. Yeah, Arkansas is 12th. I don't know why I wrote down 92nd. Arkansas is 15th, excuse me. I have no clue why on my notes I wrote down Tennessee 3, Arkansas 92. That is very incorrect. Arkansas is 15th in defensive efficiency rating. Offensively, Tennessee has slipped all the way down to 49th. At one point in time, Tennessee was at like 29-30. But has slipped down in recent games to 49th in terms of Ken Palm's offensive adjusted efficiency rating. Arkansas is 46th, so just slightly better. Strength of schedule, we've talked about this all the time. And this is why Arkansas, in my opinion, is not getting as much love in terms of all the bracketologies out there. Arkansas is on that 5 line right now. Tennessee's the last one on the 3 line. Tennessee is, in the terms of the Ken Palm strength of schedule, ranked 9th in the country. Arkansas is 54th in the country. The overall Ken Palm ranking, Tennessee is 11th. You know, Ken Palm loves Tennessee. Tennessee is 11th, and Arkansas is 19th. You look at the net rankings, the latest net rankings. Tennessee comes in at 9th, and Arkansas is 21st. We referenced the ESPN Basketball Power Index a lot on the show, the BPI, and the BPI has loved Tennessee at home. Remember, picked Tennessee to beat Kentucky. I want to say that percentage was somewhere in the 60s. Against Auburn last week, Tennessee had like a 74.2% chance of victory per the ESPN BPI against Auburn. I said that was way too high. Well, you know, what do I know, right? Coming into this game, the ESPN Basketball Power Index has Tennessee as an 82.9% chance of victory over Arkansas, giving Arkansas just a 17.1% chance of victory. Goodness gracious, the BPI loves Tennessee. And again, I've said it countless times this week. You'd be a fool to pick against Tennessee at home right now. Straight up the money line, you just would. Points per game, Tennessee averages 73.5, Arkansas 77.4. Tennessee surrenders 63 points a game, Arkansas 67.8. Tennessee shoots at a 42.8% clip from the field, Arkansas at a 44% clip from the field. Tennessee assists on average 16 assists per game, Arkansas 14.3 assists per game. Tennessee blocks 4.6 shots per game, Arkansas 4.2 shots per game. Tennessee steals the basketball just under 10 times per game at 9.6. Arkansas averages 7.7. And again, Tennessee's won 3. Arkansas has won its last 5. You go and look at the last loss for Arkansas. Remember, it was a brutal stretch to begin SEC play and then lost to Alabama a couple weekends ago on February the 12th. That was 6 games ago. So these teams are pretty evenly matched, to be completely honest with you. But Arkansas has something the big four of the SEC does not have this year. It has a win over the next big 3: Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then LSU twice. So Arkansas is going to come into this game rolling, going to be a great test, but I do like Tennessee's chances at home. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think the Volunteers will close this thing out with an undefeated record at home so far on the season. All right, quickly, I told you I'd tell you this. There is a path to where Tennessee could be the number 1 seed heading into Tampa for the SEC. It is a thin path. Right now, if you look at the SEC standings, Auburn has a 1-game lead on Tennessee, Arkansas, and Kentucky, who all sit in second place with the same conference record. All Auburn, did I say Arkansas? Auburn is number 1. Auburn's number 1. Sorry if I misspoke. All Auburn needs to do to lock up the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. It's already locked up a share of the SEC regular season title. All Auburn needs to do to lock up that 1 seed is win against South Carolina on Saturday, beat South Carolina. For Tennessee to secure the 2 seed, all it needs is a win over Arkansas with a loss to Arkansas, likely going to be the 4 seed, okay? Tennessee could secure the 1 seed if Auburn loses and Tennessee beats Arkansas. I think they would flip-flop there. Tennessee would move up to the 1 seed because it owns the tiebreaker against Auburn. So there's a path there. It's slim, but there's a path. Arkansas can secure the 2 seed with a win over Tennessee. If it loses, it will be the 4 seed with a loss to Tennessee. Kentucky can be the 3 seed with a win at Florida on Saturday. If it loses at Florida, it will be the 4 seed, and then the loser of Tennessee and Auburn will be the 3 seed. Again, the loser of Tennessee and Arkansas could still be that 3 seed if Kentucky loses to Florida. So there's a bunch of different scenarios here, but the likely scenario was probably going to play out this weekend unless we just have madness like we did last weekend, which would be fun. Auburn beats South Carolina. It's the 1 seed, and that's probably going to happen. Whoever wins between Tennessee and Arkansas is going to be the 2 seed. Whoever loses will be the 4 seed. Kentucky beats Florida. I like their chances there. Will likely jump up to be the 3 seed. If it loses, Kentucky's the 4 seed, and the loser of Tennessee Arkansas will be the 3 seed, with the winner being the 2 seed. So I hope you kind of followed all that. That was a lot to jump out at you right there. So I tried to simplify it as much as I can. One other note here before we get on to the show. Since 2018, Rick Barnes and his coaching staff have guided the Volunteers to an 18-5 regular season record in rematches. This is a regular season rematch game against Arkansas. Since 2018, Rick Barnes is 18-5 in rematch games inside the conference. So you like Tennessee's chances here against Arkansas in this one. A massive, massive game. If you want more preview, dive into the Saturday Sports Talk on The Sports Animal tomorrow morning, 9 to noon Eastern time. I'll be hosting it. We'll talk more of Tennessee and Arkansas, and we'll take your calls if you want to call in. Okay, BetOnline.net. Big supporters of BetOnline.net, but got some beef with them. We'll tell you why when we return here. But right now, we're talking March Madness, just a couple of weeks away. That means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets through. Are you going for the usual, or are you trying to be the best? We've done our homework, and we're going to run our pools through RunYourPool.com. Along with the standard brackets, RunYourPool offers game types like Survivor or Pick'ems. They have options to edit scoring. They even offer intel to make your picks. That's something that the CBS brackets and ESPN brackets just simply don't do. If you've got a business, RunYourPool.com can help you take some of that madness magic and play alongside your employees and even some of your customers as well. Plus, they offer a full white glove customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you're ever going to find. Clearly, we believe in Run Your Pool because, like I said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/lockedon. And while you're there, create your own pool of your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. All the rules and details will be made available there. That's runyourpool.com/lockedon for your chance to win a cash prize. We look forward to seeing and beating you there. And next up, it's Built Bar, proud sponsors of Locked On Vols. Can't thank them enough for their continual support. And you guys have been killing it too. You've been using that promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order at Built.com. It's a healthy alternative to candy bars. When you compare the two, Built Bars, which, by the way, is covered in 100% real chocolate, only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, but it's got 17 grams of protein, okay? Tons of protein, only on average 130 calories when The average candy bar is about 240 calories, plus tons of selection. You got mint brownie, coconut almond. A few this month are white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, all new flavors coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, chances are they're going to try to make it. It'll be delicious and it will be good for you. So again, go to built.com. Use that promo code LOCK15 because you'll get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCK15 at 15% off. That's all at built.com. Thank you guys again so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Welcome back into it. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Make sure to check out the Locked On Bracket Breakdown. That's on March 14th right here on the Locked On Vols podcast feed and the YouTube channel. College basketball's experts, Chris Gordy, Andy Patton, betting expert Lee Sterling. They're going to give you some in-depth breakdowns on every single matchup. That is the Locked On Bracket Breakdown on March the 14th. Okay, so you guys know my love for BetOnline, all right? They are proud sponsors of the Locked On channel. They do great work for us. But I got some beef here. I got some real big-time beef here. And I don't know if you saw it, @_Cain or @Locked On Vols. I went ahead and retweeted it, put the little red flag emoji, which is kind of all the craze, or at least it was a couple months ago, when saying, whoa, warning, warning, this is not right, or whoa, I don't know about all this. Heisman Trophy odds for 2022 per BetOnline. Okay, so you've got Bryce Young leading the way. He is coming back to Alabama, and he is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. No issue there. He's leading the way at plus 300. C.J. Stroud is in the Heisman conversation for a really good Ohio State offense. He's number 2 at plus 450. Okay, seems about right. Caleb Williams, of course, Caleb Williams is going to be up there because he's all the talk in college football now. He supplanted Spencer Rattler, who is on this list, down the list at plus 3,300. At South Carolina, which is hilarious. The Caleb Williams is third at plus 500. Jackson Dart, now at Ole Miss, plus 1,800. Tyler Van Dyke is at plus 2,000. Quinn Ewers, who, I mean, he hadn't played at all yet, right? He had an NIL deal coming out of high school, but heck, he's up there. Quinn Ewers at plus 2,000. Jackson Smith Ninjaba is at plus 2,000. Anthony Richardson, the starting quarterback for the Florida Gators, who's rebuilding. Brand new coach. Don't think Florida will be more than a 9-win team this year, but Anthony Richardson is at plus 2,200. Okay, we're working our way down here. Travion Henderson is at plus 2,500. Will Anderson Jr., who should have won the Heisman last year, is at plus 2,500. He should be way up there because he's a freaking stud. They just don't give the Heisman to defensive players. Braylon Allen's at plus 2,500. DJ, well, you know him, the Clemson starting quarterback. He's at plus 2,800, which probably a little bit too high right now, to be completely honest with you. Spencer Rattler, who was the Heisman Trophy winner, crown him before entering the season last year, right? Well, that didn't work out too well. He got benched at Oklahoma. Now he's at South Carolina reuniting with Shane Beamer. He comes in next at plus 3,300. Sam Hartman ties him at plus 3,300. Dylan Gabriel at plus 3,300 as well. So that is all that would fit on this lovely graphic. Who's missing? Well, obviously you guys are shouting Hendon Hooker. To be completely fair, Hendon Hooker was just 2 more spots down from making that graphic, if that makes you feel any better. Next in line behind Dylan Gabriel, who is, again, last on this list, you have the new starting quarterback for the Pitt Panthers, Tennessee's Week 2 opponent, Keaton Slovis, formerly of USC. He's at plus 3,300. Okay. Then comes in Hendon Hooker at plus 4,000. Hendon Hooker should be well up there. Oh, I forgot. I skipped one, guys. I skipped a very noteworthy one. I went right from Travion Henderson to Will Anderson Jr. JT Daniels is sandwiched in between those guys at 2,500. You know, JT Daniels, who's currently in the transfer portal. JT Daniels, formerly of Georgia, that never started. I think JT Daniels is still the best quarterback on that roster, but it is what it is. Conversation for another day. But JT Daniels, who is still in the transfer portal, is on this list at plus 2,500. Okay, back to it. Hendon Hooker is at plus 2,000. Plus 4,000. Plus 4,000. Hendon Hooker should be well higher on this list simply because he plays in an offensive-friendly system. He's going to get his stats, and he was really, really good. He did not turn the football over at all last year, but 3 times. At least through the air. Hendon Hooker should be well higher on this list. Dylan Gabriel should be up there. Spencer Rattler should be down. Prove it in the SEC. Sure as heck didn't prove it. I mean, the stats weren't horrible, but you got benched. Clemson's quarterback DJ, no, that was not good enough. I thought he was going to be a stud, but it just wasn't in 2021. Will Anderson Jr. should honestly be leading the pack here. JT Daniels should be on this list right now because he doesn't have a home. Anthony Richardson should be down further this list a little bit. Quinn Ewers should not be on this list. Young, Stroud, Williams, I'm fine with them. Dart, I'm fine with those guys at the top. Hendon Hooker should be somewhere midway through this list. It's just point remains. You're going to put up stats. It's year 2 of the system with Josh Heupel. You're going to throw it all over the field. You're going to run. You're going to be such a dual threat option, in the SEC. And we'll have this conversation for another day as well. But I mean, if we're picking quarterbacks on the playground from the SEC, I'll give you Bryce Young if you want to pick him first. I mean, heck, he is the Heisman Trophy winner. Hendon Hooker might be your second pick. If it's not Hendon Hooker, it's Will Rogers. I mean, let's be honest here, right? I mean, it may be Anthony Richardson potentially, but KJ Jefferson's in this conversation. But come on, I mean, Hendon Hooker's probably there's good case. Hendon Hooker could be your second option here if you're picking like recess on the playground. So I thought that was interesting. BetOnline leaving Hendon Hooker off the graphic because he was 2 spots down. What is this? Counting on the fly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19th best odds right now. Hendon Hooker at plus 4,000 according to betonline.net to win the Heisman in 2022. I think we can all agree he needs to be well up this list, at least about halfway. I'm not saying he'll be a Heisman finalist. I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. But Hendon Hooker deserves to be up about midway through this list. Other notables, I mentioned a couple of these guys. I'll give you their odds here. You want to know something hilarious? Something hilarious. All right, so you got Hendon Hooker here at 19th, okay? You've got, oh, goodness gracious, where is he? Okay, you've got Cade Klubnik, who's the freshman quarterback coming into Clemson that might very well beat out DJ to be the starting quarterback. He's behind Hendon Hooker at plus 5,000. You got Jahmyr Gibbs at plus 5,000 behind him. Bo Nix now at Oregon plus 5,000. And then comes in old Stetson Bennett. Again, he won a national title. I love his story. Easy to root for. Still wasn't the best quarterback on the roster. That was JT Daniels. But it's his team now coming back. And still some Georgia fans who hadn't won a national championship since 1980 are so upset about it. I love college football. It's incredible. Stetson Bennett coming in at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, the 23rd best odds according to betonline.net to win the Heisman in 2022, plus 5,000 Stetson Bennett. That is hilarious. He shouldn't even be on this list. I don't care if he's like 50 players down. Shouldn't be there. Hysterical. Absolutely hysterical that Stetson Bennett is even on this list. But Stetson Bennett there at plus 5,000. Tank Bigsby at plus 6,600. I mean, he's a guy that should be well up there more. Will Levis at plus 8,000. I understand that one. Will Rogers, who arguably I think is the best quarterback in the SEC. Call me crazy. Maybe I'm off my rocker here. Will Rogers, arguably, you can make the arguments. That's what arguably means. Best quarterback in the SEC. Plus 10,000. And then KJ Jefferson also plus 10,000 as well. So we're going to have some fun with that. It is what it is. I just found it interesting. And obviously, it's a great segment here for Locked On Vols because, heck, I think he should be about midway on that graphic. Certainly not 19th for the best odds moving forward. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little Hendon Hooker love. But, that might change and fluctuate as we get closer to the season. But certainly too far down that list for our liking. Speaking of BetOnline.net, they made a mistake with this Heisman odds, I'll tell you that, but they are fantastic and keeping us engaged and topical and making some money as well. Football, it's over for right now. We're in the offseason, but basketball is in full steam, both pro and college. And from the latest odds, totals, player performances, props, to where the next coach might be fired and where he might land, BetOnline.net, your number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just for basketball, not just for football, but it's your number one source for hockey, for boxing, for UFC, Olympic coverage, all that and more. BetOnline.net, it's got you covered. Head on over to the website today, right now, or you can go there using your mobile device right here from the palm of your hand. Learn more about the trends and the latest action. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. One more segment to go here on a Friday Locked On Vols. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. We've got a whole lot to talk about today. We got a couple more things to hit on here in this last segment. Hey, if you're new to the show, I failed to introduce myself in the opening segment, so apologies there. I'm Eric Cain, do radio in Knoxville, Tennessee, the flagship station, 99.1 The Sports Animal. Also, all you guys that like to get your recruiting service fixed, all your football news from these recruiting services. I write for the rival site covering Tennessee. That is at VolQuest.com. Monster recruiting weekend coming up. A major junior day on campus tomorrow. I will be there covering it for complete coverage for everything you need to know about Tennessee's junior day. Follow me on Twitter at _Cainer and follow us on the website, VolQuest.com, to get your recruiting fix there. Velus Jones just flew at the NFL scouting combine in Indianapolis on Thursday. Starting to get some work in on the field, not just answering questions and not just measuring hand size. Everybody freaked out because Kenny Pickett had a hand size of 8 point something, whatever. It's the most overrated argument in sports. It's hilarious, really. But nonetheless, Velus Jones Jr. raised some eyebrows, and we knew he would. He said it interviews earlier in the day. He said, "Hey, when I get out there and run my 40, I'm gonna shock a lot of people." Right? He continues to soar up those boards. Everyone knows him as a returner to begin with, but what he did as a wide receiver at Tennessee last year, what he did a little bit in 2020, just continues to raise his stock. Had a great week at Mobile for the Senior Bowl. He's a guy that I think is going to be picked in the mid rounds, especially after today. So he absolutely flew. Clocked a 4.3440 in the 40-yard dash, his first go around. Came back around, ran a 4.32. Ran a 4.340. That is scooting. At the time, that was the fastest 40 time for a wide receiver. Now, literally, at the time of this recording, I'm looking at my tweet deck right in front of me, and I just saw, as I came in for this segment, Ohio State Buckeyes wide receiver Chris Olave. I said his name wrong, but you know who he is. He had a really good year, scored like 13 TDs in this past football season. Anyway, that guy, he ran a 4.26 in the 40-yard dash, 4.2. So now the Ohio State wide receiver has the fastest time, but at the time, Velus Jones Jr. had the fastest time per wide receivers at the NFL Scouting Combine. So good for Velus Jones. Will continue to give some notes throughout the weekend on Cade Mays, Matthew Butler, Alontae Taylor, and of course Velus as well on how they are performing at the Combine in Indianapolis. All right, so had a person comment on the YouTube channel for Thursday's episode, Cody Branch. Appreciate you, Cody, for chiming in the comment section. Any of you guys have any questions, tweet me _Cainer. Go to YouTube, write in that comment section. I see them. We'll figure it out. This is from Cody. My biggest question is, will there be a spring game? It's been a few weeks without any announcement of the spring game, and it's trending in a way that we won't have a spring game. I'd like your take on it, EC. Does it give us an advantage because we won't be showing anything, or does it really not matter because the SEC will go off a film for last season? Yeah, great question, Cody. It certainly feels like there's not going to be a spring game, right? Tennessee, again, is doing renovations to Neyland Stadium, putting in another scoreboard or another Jumbotron, putting in some premier seating. That I kid you not, I don't know if I told you guys this yet, but when I was on the field wrapping up, I guess it was post Vanderbilt game, the last home game, doing our stand-ups on the field and everything right after the game, they were bringing bulldozers on the field at that time, taking the goalpost down. They were getting to work right then. I kid you not, to get ready for the next season. So Neyland Stadium's out for a spring game. Nissan Stadium is out because Garth Brooks is coming the day they wanted to do it. I believe there's a conflict in Chattanooga. I don't think ETSU has been explored, but it seems like, and again, there's been no talk. There's been nothing officially said, but it feels like there's not going to be a spring game. So we'll have to see. But in terms of, giving an advantage, I would say no. I mean, you're exactly right. They go off film from last year. They study trends and tendencies. They'll go back and watch Josh Heupel's, film from when he was at UFC or UCF, in 2018. They'll go back and watch him when he was calling plays at Missouri. I mean, you got graduate assistants and off the field staffers that cut up all these films versus play types and all that stuff. They got them all in there. So they'll watch film of Hendon Hooker. They'll watch film of Cedric Tillman and Josh Heupel and everybody from last season. If I'm a coach, I'm fine with it. Everything is so vanilla in the spring game because you don't want to show anything. You're right. Every spring game is broadcasted on the SEC network. You don't want to show anything at all. So it's very vanilla. Plus, you're taking the chance of getting hurt. But you want to do something for your fans. And so if I'm a coach, I'm fine with it. You get your real work in those closed scrimmages. They have a couple, 2 or 3 during the spring practice sessions. So if I'm a coach, I'm okay with it. If I'm a fan, I think it's important for the fans. I do. This is coming from me, Eric Cain. I think it's important for the fans. It gives the fans something to, something to gravitate towards during the offseason, a chance to see, lay eyes on the newcomers, the signing class, the guys who come in via the transfer portal already, chance to see some of their favorite players in Hendon Hooker. So I think it's important for the fans, but we'll have to see. It certainly doesn't feel like there's going to be a spring game at this point. I haven't heard anything. All talks kind of seem dead on that front, but they'll put out spring practice is set to begin the week of March 21st. So they'll put out an official schedule, and in there they'll announce if they are having a spring game. But it's been quiet on that front. I will tell you that. Cody, appreciate you chiming in there. And quickly, before we end our show, massive week for the University of Tennessee baseball team in Houston for the Shriners Hospitals for Children College Classic. On the docket, number 1 Texas tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Number 2 Baylor, they're not number 2. Let me start that over. Saturday, Baylor at 4 o'clock. Sunday, Oklahoma at noon Eastern. If you want to listen to these games, like I said on the show yesterday, they will be on 99.1 The Sports Animal FM or 990 AM. Because of the Lady Vols games happening in Nashville for the SEC tournament, if you turn on The Sports Animal, trying to find baseball during the baseball times, if you hear the Lady Vols, go to the AM 990 channel. That's where baseball will be. If not, there's no conflict. It'll be on both dials, FM 99.1 and AM 990. But it will also be streamed a couple different ways, but also on the MLB Network. All 3 games this weekend for Tennessee baseball will be on the MLB Network. You can check it out there. Chase Burns will get the nod going up against All-American Pete Hansen of Texas. That'll be the Friday matchup. Chase Dolander will get the nod going up against Jake Jackson of Baylor on Saturday. And Drew Beam will take the ball and go up against Chaz Martinez of Oklahoma on Sunday at noon. Texas so far this season, been fantastic. They are really, really good. 9-0 on the season. They have 9 preseason All-Americans, including the pitcher that is going to face Tennessee on Friday nights. It was Tennessee's last game in the College World Series that eventually eliminated them. That came at the hands of Texas in Omaha last year. You got a couple of big bats. Again, I can't wait to see Tennessee play Texas. It'll be a great measuring stick. Baylor, only a 4-4 record on the season so far, but they're a quality team. Preseason All-American Jared McKenzie has been quiet so far this year, but Jack Pineda has been the guy that's kind of been pacing that lineup, leading the teams at runs, hits, RBI as well. Oklahoma 5-2 so far on the season. They are not ranked right now. They were picked to finish 6th in the Big 12 poll. Baylor was picked to finish 5th in the Big 12 preseason poll. Preseason All-Americans Jimmy Crooks and infielder Peyton Graham. I believe he is a second baseman. So a little bit to know. It's going to be a quality weekend for Tennessee. Probably we'll get out of there with a 2-1 record, but wouldn't shock me at all if Tennessee goes and secures a 3-0 record this weekend as well. But looking forward to breaking that down Sunday and a couple times maybe this week on the Diamond Falls podcast with Ben McKee. Go ahead and subscribe and follow us there for additional Tennessee content. All right. We threw a lot at you here on a Friday show. Tennessee preview, the scenarios for the SEC tournaments, BetOnline.net with the early Heisman odds, where Hendon Hooker lied in that pecking order. It was too low. And we answered a question from our YouTube channel. We gave you some notes on the NFL Combine and got you set for Tennessee baseball. So appreciate you guys for hanging out with me here today. If you're going to the game, enjoy it. Should be a good one. I'm picking Tennessee to win. I'm sure you are as well. Now that we're done making Locked On Vols your first listen, your second listen, it needs to be Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy, former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker, bring you the NFL Draft, bring it to life every single day. Insight and analysis on every college football prospect and all the NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Subscribe on YouTube, pretty please, and enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again on Monday.